Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm David.
And this is the Practical Guitarist Podcast.
The podcast for people who eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. The Practical Guitarist Podcast is brought to you by Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Great Lakes Guitar Pickups provides fantasy tones at prices a practical guitarist will love. Featuring top-notch construction, attention to detail, and a fully custom product, if you can dream it, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups can probably build it. Follow them on Facebook at facebook.com/Great Lakes Guitar Pickups. Are you a regular listener? Why not? David here reminding you of all the ways you can participate in the Practical Guitarist Podcast. Subscribe using your chosen podcast app. Review us on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Play. Find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Practical Guitarist or on Twitter as @PracGuitarist. Support the show. Merchandise is available in our Threadless store at practicalguitaristpodcast.threadless.com. And donate to us via Patreon, available at patreon.com/practicalguitarist. Reach out to us directly via email at questions@practicalguitarist.com. Good evening, Jim.
Hi, David.
This is the Practical Guitarist Podcast special report on coronavirus, COVID-19, novel coronavirus, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, we predicted last week that some stuff was going to go down, and a lot of stuff has gone down.
And it does. You know what? It's pretty much what we said. I think that we should be like the new CNN, or at least the new some of it.
I have at least one gig that got canceled. All the bars are closed here in Illinois as of Monday night. Actually, we're recording this on Sunday, so they're not closed yet. But so I'm going to talk about it in future tense. But by the time our listeners hear this, it will have already have happened. So basically, if you don't know, St. Patrick's Day is a huge deal here in Chicago, and everybody wanted to do their St. Patrick's Day celebration. So they went out on Saturday night, and they crammed the bars. And so this morning, Governor Pritzker, Sunday morning, he was pissed and basically said that you're not doing what the government is asking you to do, and said we are closing all the bars and all restaurants in the state of Illinois, except for if you're going to be picking up for takeout. There will be no inside eatery, anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't unprecedented because I think other countries are doing this right now with managing their own COVID-19 issues, like Italy. And I'm not going to say that this is a great idea. I think it's a good idea personally, but I think that there's a huge economic impact that we've been talking about on this show for quite a while that needs to be balanced. And I also feel like we don't know how long this is going to last, what the long-term economic impact of this will be, how long it's going to take for the social distancing to actually have the impact on lowering the curve, which is another media thing that's been going on, is they're talking about the fact that we're really not social distancing to stop the flow of the virus. We're social distancing to slow it down so that we can actually treat the people who do get severely ill. Right. It's just this is like craziness. So I get the text this morning saying gigs are canceled, and all this kind of nonsense is going on. And I'm like, I'm not upset about it. Like, I honestly, you know what I'm happy about? I don't have to go to open mic or any of that stuff for like a month, which means that I can actually work on new music. But to put the additional things in perspective, my daughter's doing school from home. They sent her home with a laptop. Now my daughter's 9, right? So imagine that your 9-year-old comes home with a laptop and a packet of information about what she's supposed to do on her break, which is not really a break. It's going to be a 3-week, work.
Right.
I called it work from home.
Work release program.
Well, I'm on work release. I mean,
yeah, same here.
We've been told not to come into the office as much as possible next week, and that the following week it will be basically a dead zone. And they're shutting down the office completely. Only certain people will be authorized to be in there. I actually am one of them because we have backups that we have to do. But
yeah,
it's mostly going to be a tomb. when I do go in, if I do go in, because
So
we're talking about making arrangements for that too. I mean, I have
when
to
you go
in.
in, will you
There
be
really
a
don't be
Tomb
nobody
Raider?
there. Huh?
When you go in, will you be a Tomb Raider?
No,
Oh, okay.
because I'm not going to be stealing anything. Which that's a whole other thing. Because I'm like, well,
We got to talk about that in a second.
We need to have somebody go in occasionally to make sure that things aren't ripped off. Because if somebody was able to get into our suite for whatever reason, you could have stuff missing off people's desks. I mean, that's a crazy.
So let's talk about some of the things. My I don't live in New York. I live in Virginia, but my wife and family live in New York. So my wife sent me a picture from Walmart.
Oh, I was in Target. I was in Target on Friday.
The aisles were empty, not just the people, stuff. And this is the thing that I'm not understanding. Okay, I don't get it. I don't care if it's because of this, because of an hurricane. Let me just say something. Are you not wiping your rear end, washing your home, washing your hands, brushing your teeth, eating? Things that people do. Is there a reason that you don't have stuff in your house? Are you literally now? I'm not now. Listen, I come from a different. I don't live in an apartment. I haven't lived in an apartment, and I don't. Well, I lived in an apartment, but believe me, it was not like what you'd think of an apartment. But I haven't lived in an apartment living in a long time. Okay, I have 210 rolls of toilet paper. I didn't go shopping during this madness. I put a picture of the toilet paper I had.
210 rolls of toilet
210 rolls of toilet paper. They're in my garage. How
much are you buying when you go to the store regularly, man?
They're the equivalent rolls. There's not actually.
Yeah, because I bought the 96 mega roll thing.
Yeah, I have a 96 and a 2 on a.
And I have a 48. So yeah, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I have a 96 and a 100 and something.
Yeah,
for a total 120 for a total of 210. And then I've got the equivalent. Okay, I know it's not actual rolls. It's 8 actual rolls of Bounty, but it's the equivalent of like 40 rolls of Bounty, some ridiculous thing like that. So it's so big I can't put it in the cupboard. I got to sit in the garage. I have hold on, I'm not done. I have like 8 things of what's that stuff that does hand sanitizer, but that's because I work in an environment. I go to the government stuff. People travel. They travel literally around the planet. We pick up drug dealers. They're not known for all of them being the cleanest people in the world. I kind of live in an environment where I stay clean. I wash my hands. I take showers. I shave. I brush my teeth. Before we did this podcast, I brushed and flossed. And it's only because I just can't stand the feeling of that. So I'm wondering why all of a sudden do the grocery stores, and I can understand now it's countrywide, which is scarier. This is what people don't get. It's not like your local Walmart is just waiting for a shipment from their center. This is countrywide, nationwide, and that's what makes it scary.
Well, so as much as you are a quartermaster, I think I'm probably closer to what like the average American's like now. With we buy one of the mid-size things of toilet paper, and we have one on hand, and when we run out, we buy another one. We don't try to have like 2, so we can swap back and forth or anything like that. But that being said, this is, Guitar Impact aside, because obviously we haven't gotten there yet,
and we have to. Yeah,
we're headed in that direction.
You and I use the same.
I promise. We're 7 minutes in, but we're gonna get there. Yeah. So, I'm trying to find like the right words to describe this. This is panic buying, okay? And I want to say this.
Yes.
I want to say this in the truest sense of the word. This isn't panic buying. Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to get stuck in my house. It's oh my gosh, it's not going to be available. And the reason I say that is because if you're looking and paying attention, you will see people doing dumb things like relisting this stuff on eBay for outrageous amounts of money. And that's what's going on here. The people that are always doing this kind of crap, whenever a new console rolls out and they go out and they buy 10 of them so they can list them on eBay for $100 more than they go for because they know they're going to sell out. That is exactly the same thing that's going on right now. Now, I'm not saying that those people are driving this whole market, but what's happening is these people are coming in, they're spending all this money to buy all this stuff, right? And then maybe that makes up 10% of the sales. And then somebody says, oh my gosh, that guy just bought 4 rolls of toilet paper. I'm going to buy 2. And then all of a sudden the store's bare. So now everybody's talking about it on social media. And before long, everybody's going in to rate it. And I'm going to use toilet paper as an example because it is the classic example at this point.
It surely is.
So the one guy that was like, hey, I bet there'll be a run on toilet paper and gambled caused everybody else to go nuts. And so now, guess what? The toilet paper is being bought up in droves every morning when the shipments come in to these stores. Most stores get their shipments in the morning now. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's what's being said by the media. And so if you need things, you go in the morning. But the dumb part about it is every one of these chains retailers like Target, Meijer, Walmart, all of the ones that sell the necessities that you're probably buying your necessities from are all saying there is not a run on this stuff. We have plenty of it in stock. We just don't have any of it in the stores because we don't have the shelf space or the warehouse space for it.
Right.
So it's just, this is absolutely ludicrous. And then to top it off, anybody who couldn't find it in the stores, you know what they did? They hopped online and they bought it from Amazon. So now Amazon's sold out until the end of the month because Amazon's inventory is immediately available, which means that they can ration it out at Walmart and Target, but they can't ration it out on Amazon. So some idiot went on there and bought 170,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. Legit happened. There's a guy sitting in Tennessee somewhere who did an interview with a news outlet who has 170,000 bottles of hand sanitizer.
And that's his investment.
Yes. Now, when you see this, my wife and I laughed because we said, if you know, pardon the parlance, but the shit hits the fan, that's the first place everywhere's going. Because you're an idiot. You went on the news, and somebody's going to know who you are, and it ain't going to be hard to look you up in a phone book.
There's a true story. Can I tell this really quick true story? There was a guy who did that. He beat CBS at their game, that one where you go big money, no whammies. And anyway, he won $65,000. Told everybody right on the news he doesn't trust banks, so he put all his money in his home in cash.
Oh yeah, and then he got robbed.
And he was penniless.
Of course. So
it's a true story.
All right. So here's the reality of this. In terms of guitars, like and what's going on in the guitar side of the world right now. Jim, you had a banner day at Guitar Center today.
I had actually yesterday and Friday. I didn't work today, but yeah, I had I don't want to put out numbers, but
yeah, but you had a good day. Like you sold.
Let's just say almost triple my expectations of a shift. That's how much money I made in one of them, and almost double on another shift. So the
and
numbers
I'm speculating why, but it's because people who fear that Guitar Center's not going to be open in a couple weeks.
We actually had a customer call. I fielded a call where someone said, "Are you guys going to be open Monday?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, well, I heard you guys weren't going to be open. I heard nobody's going to be open Monday." So that's it. Right now, what's happening is there's a news media fear. I want to take the dumbest of headlines, and I want to explain why this is stupid. Why you should not listen to just one news source. So CNN literally said that the sales of Corona were down.
Yes,
based on a poll that they did. Now, the real story behind it is they did take a poll of 737 people. I'm pretty sure more than 700.
Statistically significant.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. I'm pretty sure that number could be multiplied by 100,000 people and still not, and then it would be a significant poll. Anyway, They took a poll of 737 people. Of those people, they asked, "Would you buy Corona beer?" The large number of respondents said no because they don't like the taste of Corona beer.
Yeah.
So
nobody likes Corona. That's like a known thing at this point.
I mean, yeah, it's like even I who like Corona, I won't drink it if it doesn't have a what do you call it, a lime in it.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of silly, truthfully, that people now that's a silly headline. It is a silly headline. But if someone was to make the headline and say, "Hey, I've got or we have reports that toilet paper places are running out of toilet paper." I went to the store after those headlines, and there was plenty of toilet paper. 2 days later, there's none.
Yeah.
The headline is creating the false narrative that you need to run to the store and buy all this stuff. Now, I'm sure Walmart, Target, and everybody else doesn't care. They'll sell you whatever you want to buy.
They're implying the false narrative. And actually, my local stores, they're putting up limits.
Yeah, and they should be.
Although I saw a woman, so I went Friday. I bought one pack of toilet paper. I had bottled water. It's actually still sitting in my car. And really, I didn't need the toilet paper. I was just kind of like, well, I want to make sure I have enough if I have a 3-week off. And reality is I'll use it up regardless. I don't plan on buying toilet paper until sometime in late April, right?
Right.
So I walk in and the shelves are bare, but they do have some of the 48 counts. And I'm like, if I have to buy that, I have to buy that. So I bought one. Well, I put it in my cart and I'm rolling around the store and people are looking at it like, ooh, I could take that from him. And I'm looking at them like, if you try to take that from me, you're going to have a broken windpipe. Like this, you don't know who you're messing with. This is not the person you want to try to take that from.
Exactly.
And as I'm walking through the store, I gather some things. Some things are already missing. Like I couldn't find black olives, canned black olives, of all things, were gone. It was like I got like 3/4 of the ingredients I needed for the food items I was planning to prepare for the next like 3 weeks, and then I threw everything in my trunk and whatnot, and I threw everything in my car, and like I got home, and there was a guy like working on his car, and he was like, "I'm what was in my trunk?" And I'm thinking, he's working on his car. He's one of our neighbors. He's like, "You better be smart enough not to try to steal from your neighbor, you idiot, because I know who you are." Like, anyway, I get everything in the house, and like, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, the whole time, like, hey, is it really that bad that people are eyeing each other's supply of things already? And I'm kind of wondering, like, it really stressed me out for like 2 days. I was kind of concerned about it. And I know I sound absolutely nuts, but I'm telling you, like, this was a very strange situation. But I also realized that when I went in on Friday, that the news reports hadn't happened where it was like, oh, we're all completely out. Social media had happened where people were already starting to talk about it. The news reports happened, and then all of a sudden it got worse. And I think that's a big part of it is like if you see somebody else saying, hey, I can't get this, then everybody goes, there must be a run on it. And then they all run to the store. And if the media and the news media says it, the television, like that's still probably the predominant form of media for most folks. And so they're going to run out and go buy this. I guarantee if I drive by Meijer, which is 24 hour, if I drive by Meijer by my house right now, there's probably the parking lot's probably completely full.
I'm sure of it. Right now, I mean, and so let's talk about that. So here's the thing that's killing me. Typically, you probably already have toilet paper. So and you already have soap. Usually, most people have some soap. They have some toilet. You don't need to buy a ton of it. You might need to buy, like you were saying, you didn't have that second thing. Probably want to go get a second, right? All right, So I always have the soap I'm using and another bottle. The toothpaste I'm using and another tube. I'm just that person.
I want to point out the ludicrousness of this, right? This happened. We had H1N1, right? They didn't do social distancing, but when we had H1N1, we had severe infection numbers. It went on
Right.
for a year, and because the media wasn't saying, "Hey, you need to do this, this, and this," and then be prepared to sit in your house, none of this happened. All
Right.
of a sudden, we get COVID-19. They shut the border to China. They start talking about how bad it is, and then they keep cycling this news information over and over. And then suddenly, oh my gosh, it's horrendous. Everybody needs to steal from one another. You now need to worry about whether the government's going to allow you to leave your house. And this is just psychotic. None of this stuff is going to come to fruition. The government is not going to tell people you cannot leave your house, not unless you're in one of those areas like that, like New Rochelle, New York. So now, what this means to guitar players, and that's why I want to focus the majority of the rest of the show on, is look, nothing really. I mean, your gigs are canceled if you're in, the unlucky situation that I'm in. You will probably not be able to go to guitar stores for at some point in the foreseeable future. I don't think it's going to be right away. Or you're going to have to go in and you'll have to there'll only be a certain amount of people allowed in the store, which I could see them doing that too instead of a full band, like a partial band.
I can see us telling people you can't just pull a guitar down and play it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's probably coming sooner rather than later. And I wouldn't be surprised if you don't start seeing places with like infrared thermometers, the ones they can shoot like a trigger to find out, if you're running fever. Yep. That's something that's been going on in South Korea since the beginning of this.
Yep.
In fact, one of the male people in our Facebook group, I think somebody was a male person. They sent me a message that said that whenever they go in somewhere, they have to get. There's just one place they go. They shoot them with the infrared thing because they won't allow them in if they're sick or whatever. And I think that's both ludicrous and also a good idea. Okay, because I think it's kind of an invasion of privacy, but at the same time, it's like you got to do something to protect yourself.
Yep.
I also feel like some of my local shops, like Good Time Music, issued a email yesterday basically saying we're a small traffic store. We're going to be doing the best to sanitize our facility, throughout the day. In addition, like if you don't feel comfortable coming into the store, if you feel like you're at risk, you can drop off your equipment that needs to work or whatever from your car. You can even, talk to them in person or call them up afterwards. They're going to make special accommodations for you basically. And I think that's really cool. I applaud small businesses being able to take those kind of steps to keep things going, but obviously stores like Guitar Center can't do that. You guys you're a high volume store. You got a lot of people coming through. It's going to be a whole different scenario over there. Jim, you and I were talking briefly before the show about, why not just order everything online? And I think you had some things that you wanted to say about that, and I wanted to rebut that. So you can go ahead.
Well, no, I agree. The thing that I agree with, okay, in this environment, what I see, okay, I'm at Guitar Center, right? I'm working. I worked 5 days last week. Of those 5 days, every single shift, I saw more than one family with an infant in Guitar Center. Or more than one infant, or at least toddlers, multiple toddlers in Guitar Center. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of reasons that you might take risks with your family. I doubt very much strings, straps, and a guitar is one of them.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying. All right. Now, what you and I were talking about, and I'm going to stand by what I said because obviously we always take sides on these things. So I went to GameStop and I picked up my game stuff, right? And you said you could just order it online, and I'm like, here's the danger of what could happen if this thing goes on long enough. If people go to online only, okay, this is where I'm going to go with this. If I am the company ABC, doesn't matter, and I see a drop in sales remotely, but I don't see a drop in overall sales, I might start thinking about closing some doors. And this has happened in the past to other companies where they go, you know what? We can move to online. And what sets, you can call GameStop and Sweetwater two different things for all day long, but they're both big box stores. The difference between the two is One, you can go in and try the stuff, and the other one you can't. All I'm saying is, in an overall nutshell, GameStop, Walmart, everything. If we go to where all we do is buy our stuff online, and we don't get we have had a setback in since social media. I think social media has been the worst thing to social media since sliced bread. I mean, I just don't agree with it. I'm not a big proponent of it. I get it for advertising reasons. I'd love to have it for free platform to do other certain things, but it does not condone or get people together in a human sense in one place. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that's old fashioned. Maybe that's just fine, and I get it. I really do. I'm not the tell all for everything. But when we start pulling away, the more we pull away, and the more we say, "Yep, we'll just dine in. We'll dine in at our house. We won't go anywhere. We won't do stuff." I think we're losing something, and we're going to start losing local stores if people don't buy in local stores. That doesn't mean everything. I go to Walmart. I'm trying to buy an Oral-B toothbrush, and I cannot get a decent Oral-B toothbrush at Walmart. I have to order it online. It's just the nature of the beast. But just saying.
All right. So, in terms of going to retail, this is why I'm in pretty hefty disagreement with this thinking, at least with regards to COVID-19. All right, so companies like I'm gonna use GameStop. Companies like GameStop, first off, they're not, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but most people I talk to do not have positive feelings about that store. They kind of feel like they get ripped off there. And there are times where I've gone in there and the prices have been 20% higher than if I were to either go online or go to another outlet, any other outlet. I mean, and so I can kind of side with that a little bit. I think stores like GameStop, who sell a brick and mortar product that is essentially available as a download, in some cases you don't even get a box copy anymore. You get a receipt with a code on it. Those days are numbered. I'm shocked that store is still open except for the used inventory. Now, to talk about stores like Guitar Center versus, going online and buying from Guitar Center online, look, reality is this. The reason why Guitar Brick and Mortar still exists is because people like to put hands on a product before they buy it, especially in a musical instrument. And I think there is definitely something to be said about that. But I think that selection is a big criteria part of this. And I think at least in terms of COVID-19, like if you are in any way at risk for this illness, i.e. you have asthma, you have, you're one of the at-risk groups that's been identified by the CDC, or you have other underlying health issues that maybe haven't been pushed by the CDC, but could be at risk for this. I would think you would be absolutely nuts right now to be out and about shopping. You're living in a land where you are invulnerable and invincible, and it's not worth the risk. We live in a world right now where you can literally do everything without leaving your house. I mean, I'm battening down the hatches. I haven't gone out this weekend, period. And I don't intend to go out for several days at minimum. I'm going to the pharmacy later this week. I got to get my inhaler because I have asthma. And so I am in one of these at-risk groups, right? I don't have severe asthma, so nobody has to worry. Chances are I'd be able to fight it off regardless. I'm a tough guy. And I fought off worse, quite frankly. I had H1N1 and H1N1B like right together, and so was no problem there either. But that's basically like this whole situation is, if you're at risk, don't put yourself any further at risk. Now, I think that there's going to be some very interesting changes as a result of going through these things, but ultimately, like, there's still going to be mom and pop guitar shops. There's still going to be brick and mortar Guitar Center locations and that kind of thing. But in terms of the other retail stuff, I think if you're asking people to still shop at mom and pops during this, you're kind of nuts. I don't expect. We're talking about a country where people have literally decimated the store shelves of toilet paper.
I know, right?
Of all things.
That's what I'm saying.
Toilet paper. I told coworkers, I said, I got a shelf full of books. Like, if it comes to that, it comes to that. I will put the stuff in a plastic bag and I will carry it out to my dumpster. Like, what is the problem? I think we live in a country of sissies now. I think the American mentality of the pioneer has long since passed. This whole idea that you could put up with anything and that you could eke out an existence with, a sod house is just no longer a thing anymore. And I think it's starting to show very clearly that we're a bunch of wimps. But at the same time, I think your personal safety is important, and so do what you got to do. But I don't make this to be out to be an economic decision. The economic fallout of this is going to have massive ramifications, and it has nothing to do with whether or not you go to a store or not. Because at the end of the day, Jim, they're already talking about $50 billion a day being taken out of the economy for the shenanigans that are going on, and there's no real stimulus to back this up. I mean, our government's going to be bankrupt by the time this is over. Yeah. So I that's why I think when we get to April, I think they're going to just open the taps and just say, you know what, the hell with it, because there's nothing else we can do.
Let's go.
We've done what we could. We've done what we could at this point.
Yeah, I want to go back to your statement that we're in a land full of sissies.
The insane or sissies. Yeah.
I want to say this as far as that goes, and I want to reword it.
I don't know that word is probably the appropriate word for that. I feel like there's some sort of like connotation to that I don't know. But basically, I'm just saying we're all a bunch of wimps.
Yeah, and so I'm going to try to that's a word I would use. But I'm going to go with this. I'm going to say this. Whenever, and I've said this before, whenever the country has, and this is a country full of people, has very little to bitch about, they're going to find other things to bitch about. Okay, they're going to find things to complain about.
Right.
And the things that people complain about right now are menial. I'm not saying that they're not important to the individual in the moment, or saying they're menial.
No, sure, in the moment.
Right, they're menial in the overall.
I'm not going to be able to wipe my butthole.
Yeah, I'm going beyond that. I'm going about beyond that into the things that have been huge problems, scalarly, across the country, right?
Huge problems in scale.
And I don't want to lock any of them down because I don't take sides. I'm just saying that we're worried about a lot of things, whether they're words or they're, gestures or whatever, where what we really should be worried about is fellow man. Right now, people are not worried about their fellow man.
Yeah. Unify.
Holy goodness. You would think that this would bring people together. This is tearing people apart.
This is the second biggest event right now going on since September 11th. I mean, the first biggest event. We had September 11th, and now we have this, which means that we had a lot of unification after September 11th. We don't have it right now. I mean, I'm literally watching the news media tear Donald Trump apart, which is fine. I get it. People don't like him, right? But at this point, we all need to be looking at the federal government for what we should be doing, because the state governments don't have anything for this.
And again, I don't care if tear Donald Trump apart or whatever it is. I don't care. My thing is, it's more than Donald Trump's fault. People get behind the fact that all the idiots that are saying, "Oh, I'm not Donald Trump." Well, you are also in power, and you are also not doing anything. So,
and you didn't do anything the last time it happened. Joe Biden had more power last time when we had the H1N1 thing sweep through. By the way, if you compare those numbers, we're looking like we're on track to be like H1N1 for this.
Yeah, don't sit there and try to say that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just. Don't make it political. I just don't want to make it political.
Not.
Like, this is not about politics. This is about finding a resolution to a problem.
Everything has still been set into, all right, I've got this, and it's all political.
Do you know why I think that is, Jim? Because I think the media realized that when they started getting behind pictures of Bush at Ground
Yep.
Zero and stuff after September 11th, they were like, "Oh my
Right.
gosh, we put him back in office," and so they're terrified that they will lose the ability to control who gets elected. And I don't want to get into the conspiracy theory side of this, but you guys all need to know that you get your news from a source that is biased. And whether it's one way or the other, I'm not going to say. You can make that determination for yourself, but understand that you are being influenced. If you listen to the media, and you should, because at some point you have to get national news somewhere, you are getting a biased source. Do your research, find your own
Right.
facts, make your own decisions.
Thank you.
That's basically what I'm echoing here. Um, and look, at the end of the day, I said, this is a temporary setback. We're not looking at Spanish flu. This is not going to be a 20% mortality rate. We're not going to lose 50 million people, which we did with the Spanish flu in 1910, I think it was.
Somewhere in there.
But just understand that, we have to take these steps. It sucks. Now, what can you do as a guitar player in this, what I'm going to call the 30 days of night? I would say, I've already started. I'm woodshedding. I'm literally sitting around playing the same licks over and over to get them perfect. And I've been doing it for 2 days now. Getting things dialed in. I'm sitting with my gear and getting it set up to sound good. Making some new patches, that kind of thing. Giving myself some new options, exploring some new things. Write music, record music. Who would have thought, right? You got 30 days. This is not. So we have a lot of gear listeners, people that are really involved in the gear community that listen to our show. I don't think the next 30 days is a gear buying days. I think the next 30 days are figuring out what to do with what you already got. Because at this point, I think you would be in the vast minority if you're not concerned about finances right now. If you're not thinking, hey, I got to make sure I got enough money coming in, because I think there's still a lot of hourly people in this country. I still think there's a lot of people that might get furloughed, that kind of thing. Just use your best judgment. Don't go out and buy gear during this period if you can avoid it, unless you've got oodles of cash and you're not concerned. And if you haven't had gigs canceled or whatever, tell us about it in the group. Tell us where are you gigging that you're not concerned about the bar not being open or that kind of stuff, because I know Illinois was a lot of people are saying it's kind of unprecedented for Illinois to do what it did, but I know that other communities are going to follow suit. It's only a matter of time. And I could see us all being affected by that. But there are many things to do right now. I mean, if you want, I can post about it in the Facebook group every couple of days and just kind of give people ideas. Don't go stir crazy. If you're stuck at home, I mean, I feel you, because I'm gonna be stuck at home. But there's no reason to let this be one of those big downers where you don't want to play music or whatever, because you don't have new gear to inspire you. You don't need new gear. That's a myth. Somebody posted a meme in the group this week, and I thought it was kind of funny, but it was the flowchart meme where it's every question leads to play guitar or practice guitar.
Yeah.
Right. And they were kind of complaining, and they were saying like I don't really feel inspired to practice or whatever. And I basically said you should want to practice all the time. And if you don't want to practice, you're not doing it right. There's something missing.
Yep.
And I to be honest with you, I was so stressed out Friday night after work because I'd been at a conference all day. I spent 6 hours listening to members of my organization have a meeting, and there was really no reason for me to be there in my estimation.
Yeah.
But it's something that we all have to do. It's like one of those things at work where they want everybody to be there. And we were there for, like I said, I sat in one chair for 6 hours, a bad chair.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went home and I was feeling sick. I felt like I had a stomach thing going on, and I was kind of concerned my gallbladder was acting up, because I'm like, well, if I have to have that taken out during COVID-19, could you imagine going to the hospital and laying in a freaking bed waiting for surgery? For during this shenanigans. And I'm sure there's folks out there doing it right now. My hat's off to you, because that's too much stress for me. I would probably just have an aneurysm or something.
Yep.
But I came home and I sent a message to my mother of all people, and I was like, "Yep." I'm like, how what's your anxiety level like right now?" And we had a conversation about it, and she's like, "Well, she's just play guitar," and I'm like, "I don't even feel like I can play guitar right now." Like I was just so stressed out about it. And then the next morning, the first thing I did, and I was still feeling sick in the morning,
Play some
was I
guitar.
picked up a guitar and I played some guitar and I forced myself to. And you know what? I felt physically better afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's an anxiety management tool for dealing with all this stuff. Like find your happy space, and hopefully it is practicing. But even if it's just like playing on Facebook, like live stream,
Yeah.
show people what you're doing. The other, I was sitting there and I was thinking about the pain I had in my stomach, and like I realized what it was the next day, which is I had salmon at that thing. And if you guys remember when I was in Texas last year, we did an episode, the podcast. I'd eaten salmon the night before
Oh
there,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
got deathly ill.
Yeah.
And I was like that kind of ill the other night, and I realized, oh, I had salmon at the work function today. And I'm like, I probably got food poisoning from salmon again.
Oh crap! Yep.
I'm still dealing with it, by the way. I'm not feeling exactly the best right here, but
Yeah.
I'm feeling good enough. Jim, we got, if you get out of like sent home from work or whatever from Guitar Center, they cut back because there's fewer people in the store or whatnot.
Yeah.
We can do
I'd be one of the first
we can do
people.
2 episodes. We can do 2 episodes a week to make people happy until we're done with this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that would be fun.
I know people are like, I remember when the Practical Guitarist podcast did 2 episodes a week.
Remember the old days when we did 2 episodes
Oh my
a week?
God, we were out of our minds.
My God, it was insane.
Out of our minds.
Guys, you have no idea what we would actually do most of the time. We would record them back to back.
Yeah, we would do it right. And so, if you remember, they were only like an hour 15 or an hour and a half long. Yeah. So they were basically the same length as what we're doing now. Yeah.
We were pretty much did the same thing.
Because we did it back to back, we would just record longer.
Yep.
And then we would edit. I mean, actually, Jim, I have an offer from one of our podcast listeners to start editing the show for us.
Really? That would be cool.
That's something that we may take up in interest of time, because I think that would allow us to have a little bit more time to do some other things that we need to do to get the show.
I would love to have somebody I could send files and go, okay, here's the audio, here's the video. Could you please put these together, or can you edit this out?
If we can get your acoustic situation straightened out over there, which looks like I'm not coming out there to help you with that.
Yeah, so I'm going to do this myself. I think
I can walk you through how to do it, though. Yeah. I mean, it's not hard. I would say, like, if we can get that done, I think it's going to be a lot more easy to use a third party to do the editing for the show.
I got to take those things called the bass traps and put them in the corners.
They just up in the corner. Yeah. You don't even have to. So
I just actually messaged the guy and asked for more.
You don't even have to use T-pins. If you could, I mean, just any way to get them, affix them up there, even if it's like double-sided tape. But I don't know how that double-sided tape is going to work.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be better if I just get T-pins. I can order them. I'll order them online today.
Yeah, like Staples or something like that probably has
200 of them or something like that. I don't know how many.
Yeah, you get like a little box, and it's more than you'll ever need.
8
million. I'm dreading. I'm looking at like 200 T-pins on the wall behind me right now.
While I'm talking to you, all right,
you're gonna order them. So there's like 200 T-pins in this panel that's right behind my monitors here, which is why my sound is, I would say, noticeably like dead. These T-pins that are sitting here, like, I know I'm gonna have to paint this wall very soon, and I'm not looking forward to taking down all this foam and pulling the T-pins out.
So 2-inch T-pins.
It's gonna look like a cheese. It's gonna look like a cheese grater behind.
Oh yeah. Am I supposed to get 2-inch?
2 inches is probably fine. Is that they're 2 inches long, right?
Yeah,
Actual. Yep. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
2-inch and how many hundred?
You just don't want tiny. Yeah, that's fine. I would get. I don't know how much you're hanging up. I mean, I would. Yeah, I think 100 would probably work.
No, I was thinking like 200, 300. I don't know. There's
I would say 100 or 200.
There's a set of 300 for $849.
Did you get the set of 300? Yeah. So if you bend them while you're putting them in or whatever, you just throw them away.
Exactly. Because I put them in
with a hammer.
Really?
So I know people are like, yeah, you can put them with your fingers. That's really hard. Just put them in with a
I
hammer.
put
Just use a light hammer and just tap
I
it.
have these push pins. That's what's called in that Doom poster up. There's an Iron Maiden counter and stuff. I use push pins, and I'm able to push them right into my. I must have really soft.
Oh no, it's not that. It's the T-pin is long and they're usually cheap and thin, and they don't really have a good handle for you to get your
Oh
fingers
yeah,
on, so they're harder to
I
push
see
in.
what
That's
you.
why I said
That's
use
why
a
it would
hammer.
hurt.
You'll see.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You'll see. Especially if you're putting in a large quantity at once. So,
Okay.
if you guys are not familiar with what Jim and I are actually talking about, he's using these acoustic foam panels. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them a lot of places. A lot of people say the cheap ones suck, but I've had good luck with them. Um, and you can just hang them up on the wall. A lot of people use 3M spray adhesive. I would not recommend you spray adhesive on your wall. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
no.
Um, use T-pins. That's you can get them from an office supply store. It's nothing more than like a sharp pin with a T on the end of it, and you push it in with your thumb,
Yep.
or you tap it with a hammer, and then you just tap it flush, and you try to get the foam as flush to the wall as you can. It's not even critical that it's actually touching the wall or anything, because all it's doing is absorbing the frequencies in the air. Actually, it's absorbing air,
Right.
which carries the frequency. Um, and then your bass traps, you can get bass traps online now from like Amazon. They're super cheap. And I know people are like, oh, they're not any good. Listen, most people, if you buy them, they're going to be fine for what you're doing. You're not trying to create, a platinum studio. You want to get bass traps and just hang them up in the corners.
I can.
You don't have to do anything crazy with them. Just hang them
Right.
up.
I can tell you
That's
this.
it.
Spectre Sound had a thing. He was talking about that. He said his first bass trap was shirts in a closet. And
Yep.
he just hung shirts in a closet. He used the bass of the shirts in the closet. It worked just fine. So, and that guy is picky. You know him. He's like live music picky.
Yeah, well, he's picky, but then I've also heard some things that he's done lately that somebody sent me the other day, and I was like, really, dude?
Well, yeah.
I
That's
think
lately.
so. All right, can we talk about Glenn?
Yeah,
Can we talk
sure.
about Glenn for a minute? I like Glenn,
Yeah, we
right? Like
both
he's
do.
got a good person. He's got a good personality. I do watch his channel. My wife hates him. Um, she just I don't know, it's just because he's just his personality or whatever. But anyway, she also doesn't like Josh Scott because she thinks he's creepy looking like a vampire or something. And actually, I heard her squealing from the other
she
room
went,
when I said his name.
Josh Scott has got to be incredibly tall. Have you seen him? He did a thing with
he's
Paul
taller
Gilbert,
than
and
Paul
he
Gilbert.
made Paul Gilbert look relatively short. And I was like,
Jim, you forget I met him in person. Yeah, no, he's hopelessly tall. That's what I would describe it. Jack and the beanstalk, like he's the giant.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. So Glenn has been doing these things on his show for a long time, but lately he's been talking about using like a Behringer mixer, like a cheapo Behringer mixer from like the 90s or like the early 2000s, and talking about how good the preamps are. Those preamps are noisy as hell. I don't know what he's talking about or what kind of drugs he's smoking, but I would not use those for any sort of recording. They are crisp, I guess, for metal maybe, but like I wouldn't be advising people to go out and buy that. That's kind of crazy. Although I will say this, if you're looking for anything to record with, just use anything. Like any mixer can get you started. It's about knowing your gear probably more than knowing than like what it sounds like, because if you can get a good sound out of anything if you know what it's capable of doing and how to use it. So I guess I give him that point, but I kind of laugh because then there are other times where he'll rip something to shreds, and it's like, well, but you're okay with somebody using like El Cheapo Behringer mixer from late 90s that's based on that's like a noisy knockoff of a Mackie, yet you're gonna be like insane about this other thing. I don't know. When they started using the Midas pre's, they started to sound better. They're still noisy, the Behringer stuff. But I honestly thought about getting a Behringer live mixer to use for recording, which sounds crazy, but there are good reasons for that, like the iPad control and that kind of thing. And again, if you know your gear, you can get good sounds out of it. So I guess to each their own, but I saw that that was brought up to me by a show listener, and I was like, really? Like a Behringer mixer? I mean, I get it. I think Yamaha mixers also sound good for certain things,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to tell people that the Yamaha D-Pre is like the best preamp in the world.
Right.
And I don't think he gave that impression in the video he did, but it was like, yeah, these are passable. No, I don't think so. Not. I mean, you don't want noisy stuff in the studio. Like, I have actually while we're talking about the D-Pre, I have that Steinberg UR22 interface, the one that I used to use for the show, and the D-Pre's on it sound great.
Right.
They're really fat sounding. They don't have a lot of like sparkle and stuff to them, like a Neve kind of preamp feel, but
Right.
they definitely work great for doing like digital, for like, just running into plugins and that kind of thing, and using plugins to sweeten it. Here I am talking about like pro audio stuff, like I know what the hell I'm talking about too. It's really funny. But yeah, I'm actually going to be getting. I've been looking at direct boxes.
Right.
So because as you know, I've been using my pedal board to do some of these open mic things, and I picked out my direct box. So like you can get the radial stuff, which is really nice, and it's the industry standard right now. I'm probably going to get the new Neve direct box just because it's only like $50 more, and it has Rupert Neve's name on it, and I want to see what the hype is all about. But I've also heard that direct box is great for instruments, so I want to use it for my pedal board. I don't think it will be mountable on my pedal board. It's huge. Right. It looks like a tube preamp or something. It's gigantic. But it'll be cool to have. I don't need it everywhere I go, but there are certain places where I do need a preamp, or not preamp. What they call it, a direct box. So when I get to those places, then I'll have it. Kind of a good decision.
The one thing I haven't bought is direct box, and it's something I actually need for the guitar. Because where I go to open mic, the guy has you plug directly into the PA from your guitar. I don't know.
Oh, unless it has an instrument impedance thing.
Well, he has it. Okay. He has a QSC thing, and he has instrument selected, but I don't think that's really.
It's not ideal, but if it has an instrument like button on it, that's what it's doing, is adjusting the impedance. And usually, I don't know how they accomplish that in mixers. I was under the impression that when they do that in the mixer,
that's what my thought was.
Or whatever. But it's not though. They are doing impedance adjustment usually. Now, whether it's good or not, it remains to be seen, because I've seen some bad designs where things
every acoustic guitar output is going to be a little bit different. Like if you take a Fishman versus a,
it doesn't matter. It's about a range, and if you're using an acoustic guitar, that's different because you're probably using a line out,
that's what I mean.
A line level out. So you don't need the instrument level on that particular mixer.
Exactly. That's why I said I don't know as what he's doing, setting it up for instrument is the right thing to do. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. I would have to, because I don't play a lot of acoustic electric guitar. I honestly don't have the answer to that. I would suspect you would want a passive DI, which is probably doable at the board. I mean, most of the acoustic guitar players I see around here, even the really pro guys, are just running directed to the board. They don't use a direct box. Some of them do use like a radial passive direct box. It's probably good practice to do it anyway, just because you can control the sound better. You know what to expect. Correct me if I'm wrong, box, but
okay. But I had somebody get a Jam Man Solo XT, which is a guitar pedal, right?
Yes.
It does both.
Yep, and it does both. Line and
but does it do vocal? Microphone.
For what?
No, it does not have an XLR. If someone was to buy an XLR to core inch, would it work?
Sure, but you wouldn't want to do that. What you would want to use is
I tried to explain that. I
that
tried to explain
would
it.
go backwards. Because so even though you can take a 1/4-inch XLR adapter, it's not going to adjust the
Right.
volume and the impedance to do it right. So you can do it that way. I mean, I know guys do it all the time. I don't think that one has provision for
No.
like a switch or anything on it. But I know that's why I think loopers are like a market unto themselves that
Yep.
are like kind of separate from guitar pedals. Usually they are guitar pedals, but I think we need to start exploring like more guitar loopers, instrument loopers with XLR jacks on them. Why would you want to loop
Yeah,
vocals?
I don't know. I don't know. I loops the vocals.
Unless you're trying to harmonize with yourself or something, but then you
Right.
just buy
And that's why I
harmonizer. Like, what the
suggested.
hell?
I really wasn't sure what he was doing.
I mean, you're not doing Prophet's
I mean,
song from
I
Queen
get
because
that.
nobody wants to listen
I
to
get
that.
that. He was probably doing
Most skipped song ever.
beatbox. Does that sound right? Beatbox things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I roll my eyes. I get it. I mean, it's not my thing, but I definitely get it. But there's so many options out there that would allow you to do that. Use your iPad. Make your beats before
Yep.
you go. How about that?
That's what I told him.
I mean,
I said, buy
it's
the
not like you
slightly
didn't
more
rehearse
expensive
it.
one, put them on the card, and then you can do that. Yep.
Yeah, they'll sound better too. So I did my last open mic last week because obviously coronavirus now, right? And it was an interesting experience. I felt kind of bad, so I went and I watched who performed first. First guy performed was an acoustic singer. He was good. Second guy who played, I don't know what he was doing. He was talking about he was friends with somebody who's playing some big music festival or headlining some big music festival, which that's probably happening now.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink. And he was all excited about it, and like he's like, I'm here to perform some of their music tonight, which is really strange to me. And then he played like Gravity or something at the end, and I mean he had the John Mayer thing down, but like the rest of it, I was like, this is not. I didn't get anything out of it. He wasn't bad or anything. And then I got up and did I play next? I think somebody else played, and then I played. And then, of course, I play and I do my thing. And I think it was a mediocre night. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. And then I got invited up for the jam, and I said I would stay this week, so I did. And it was really funny because all of the songs that we played that were kind of like random one-off, like somebody's original or something that they decided they wanted to do, were great. And then some of the stuff we jammed out that was like covers and that kind of thing, they were not great. They were okay. And it dawned on me, it's like, it's a lot better when you play somebody else's music and you be completely free with it. And when you play like a jam tune and like only one dude knows it, I forget, we played, what was it? Sweet Leaf, right? And I used to know the song, and I know the chord progression well enough, like I can fake it, but I just haven't played it in so long that I didn't know the main riff or anything. So like I think we played through like the first verse and chorus before I figured out the main riff. And then like everything sort of fell into place, but I was just like, wow, this is abysmal. They wanted to play All Along the Watchtower. Can I all right, so I know All Along the Watchtower was written by Bob Dylan, and the Bob Dylan version is in A minor. But my God, I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked to play the song in A minor.
You used to play it in B, right?
I don't want to play the song in A minor. Yeah, I play it in the normal like key, the Hendrix key, which I think is B. It's B. Well, they wanted to play it in A, and I'm like, oh. So I start playing it, and then the bass player turns around, or not the bass player, the other guitar player looks at me and goes, what key are you playing it in? And I'm like, you told me to play it in A. So I'm playing it in A. He apparently didn't want me to play it in A.
Now what key did he want?
I don't know. I don't know. We didn't switch, so I was just like, you're stuck now. The singers had already started. I was like, let's go. Um, but it was fun because a guy came up out of the audience after my set and he hands me a $10 bill and an open mic, right? And I'm like, don't show people that. I'm like, put it in my bag or something. Don't tell nobody. And he's like, oh no, he's like, I want you to play a song. He's like, I want you to play the Star Spangled Banner for the Jimi Hendrix version. And I'm like, I actually don't know it, but I can do you one better. So I turn over to my looper and I start clicking through the songs and I pulled up Purple Haze. And then I jammed that out. And that was the first time they'd heard me sing there. And that place went freaking nuts. They were like, oh my God. And I just started, ripping that song apart because I don't play it all the time. Like I keep that in my back pocket if, things are not going right and I can start playing some Hendrix tunes or whatever. And it went really well. People were really excited, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what I like." But the jam was cool though because we had 2 guitar players, a bass player, a drummer, pianist, and then 2 vocalists. And the one vocalist, I don't know all these people yet because they're like regulars there, but she was freaking great. I'm like, man, I want to recruit you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you can come work for me. Like, trust me, I'll put you to work. Like we're gonna go do some gigs. You do some Robert Plant stuff for me, and we'll be all good. I'll book every gig that I can get my hands on. But anyway, it was it's a good night. I really like the club. It's called Even Flow. They're out in Geneva. If you're in the Chicagoland area, and they do an open jam like when they're when the bar's open. I don't know how that's all going to fare. They might need to be closed after all this is over.
Yeah,
they have to pay their rent. I don't think anybody's going to be giving them rent abatement. Hopefully their insurance covers, this kind of crap. I think a lot of people are going to consider this act of God. Dude, that's like a whole other level of economic fallout from this thing is like, what's going to happen long term? Because everybody's going to be a month behind in their bills.
A lot of people will be.
Everyone. Well, I'm just saying, like, in terms of the way the economy is going to look,
you got to wonder if they're going to do the. Didn't they do a thing of standard emergency type thing for the taxes and push taxes back 1 year?
I don't know if they've delayed the taxes, like filing, but they're wanting to do. I have to look at it. I don't know what they've done because I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't already. Like I'm intentionally not burying myself in this right now because I know if I do that I'm just gonna sit here and have anxiety and panic attacks for like the next 2 weeks, and I don't want to do that. I want to be healthy and able to defend myself if somebody tries to come and steal my toilet paper. That sounds absolutely nuts, right? I have my Amazon speaker system has red alert. So if I say red alert, then all the lights turn red and they start flashing on and off. And it starts playing an alarm sound. And I have instructed my wife and my child if something happens to use that so that then I know what to do. Which is, to defend my house from looters. After my toilet paper.
I asked about taxes delayed, and all they were worried about is tax refund. No, it was tax filing.
Yeah. I really don't know if that's going to be a real problem. So, and in the musical instrument industry, if you didn't know this, so like right after Christmas, there's a dead zone until like March or April, and then everybody starts buying again, and it's because they get their tax filings and they start buying with their tax payments, and then between March, April, all the way through the holidays, the next season, it's usually a pretty good buy-in because people are gigging and stuff.
The Trump administration plans to delay the April 15th tax deadline for most taxpayers.
Good, because I don't plan on doing my tax. I'm not in any hurry to do my taxes. It's not that I have any reason to or not.
But of course, the Wall Street Journal.
I'm lazy. So. He has to get approval from Congress for that. I don't think he could just do that. So that's a long-term goal of his, I guess.
Well, this is from the lawmakers call on IRS to push back tax file deadline. The Democrats and the Republicans are calling on the IRS to push back on the tax deadline to June 15th.
Unfortunately, I'm sitting here right now, and I'm kind of like I'm scrolling through my Facebook as we're on the show, and not just so I can
Did you
ignore
say
Jim. I mean,
something?
I ignore Jim regularly anyway, even when I'm looking at him. Um, and as I'm scrolling down, I'm seeing a lot of musicians I know, especially local musicians, are talking about losing money, concerts being canceled.
Yeah, this is huge
This is going to be
for
an
a lot of
ugly
people.
thing. I would encourage people, like I did last week, don't sell your gear right now. Hang on to it. If you can hawk something else that people
Toilet
are interested
paper.
in, do that, because there's going to be
Yep.
sharks looking for buying cheap gear right now. And the other component of that is you're going to get more for your gear if you can wait until the economy's back to like being functional. Just because like you have to pay your bills or whatever is not really the best reason to dump everything. If you can dump other things first, you
Yep.
probably would want to do that first. Uh, so just, not suggesting that you should dump anything. You know, you should try to
Right.
survive. Like, do what you got to do, Um, but if you got a choice, like, consider that, you'll make more money on your gear if you have to sell it after, um, gigs and stuff are starting
Yeah,
again.
there's a lot of places
So,
that are telling bars to close. New York is doing the same. I haven't heard it in Virginia yet, but then again, I don't listen to local news. So again, it might be that it's coming. I don't go to
well,
bars
you'll know when you go
unless
to
I'm
the
going
bar if
to,
it's
and I do
closed.
know this. I've been told by, I was sent a message by the guy that does the open mic on Mondays. They are not doing it. So we'll see. And whether it's
Yeah,
because of this or if it's because
yeah,
of something else,
that's
I don't
not a
know.
surprise. Well, hopefully, because people are being real aggressive about it now. It took people a couple days to settle into this idea that we're just going to have to do this. And now that people are getting more aggressive about it, both government and people, I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a major impact of this very quickly,
Yep,
and then things will open up again. And so maybe in a
exactly.
month we'll be back to normal. So I just don't know. That's so funny. There's something talking about how Mexico wants to close its borders to stop the spread of coronavirus. And I'm kind of laughing because Mexico only has like 20 something cases. It's like super low number, and it's because they're close to the equator, and the sun is nature's UV is nature's natural
Well, there's
disinfectant.
I heard this as a rumor, and is in no way can I confirm nor deny this one. But I heard that North Korea they got their first case.
Yes, no, that's
Oh,
not
they
a
shot
rumor.
him.
That's like
Okay,
pretty
so
much a
that was
thing at
true.
this point.
Yeah, one way to
Yeah,
do
they
it.
killed their first case, and they're not. Uh, I would not be surprised to
All right.
find out they've killed other
They kill
people who
people for
have
less.
coronavirus in their country. Um, Yeah, well, they're saying that they haven't reported any other cases of coronavirus,
Yeah.
which means they're just not reporting them. They've probably been executed. It wouldn't shock me at all. That country is like eh, Kim Jong Un being who he is. I could see him
Yeah.
being like, "No, I'm not getting this. Execute
Did
anyone
you
who
see
has it."
the post I put up?
Um,
So there's a woman.
yeah,
She's a public service person, one of their elected officials in some city, and she's reading, don't touch your
yeah,
face. This includes your eyes, your nose, like you're in kindergarten. Your eyes, your nose, your mouth, and then she licks her finger and turns the page. That's a pretty famous one. And then there's another one with Alexandria something Cortez, AOC,
yeah,
and she's talking about it, and the whole time wiping her hair out of her face, the whole time touching her face. I just
yeah, yeah. Well, so I guess you're right on the North Korea the execution thing. They're
okay,
now
yeah,
saying that's nobody knows whether that actually happened or not. But North
right.
Korea. So the Pentagon is saying North Korea has cases of coronavirus. They may not be reporting it to their people, but they have cases. And South Korea is the one that's interesting to look at, though. So South Korea, they had SARS really bad when SARS was a thing, and so they fortified their healthcare system to be able to deal with pandemics, which is something I think we will probably be doing.
Yep.
But they put like in public spaces, they put heat cameras. They put so they can identify people who have fevers before they can identify themselves. They put lots of businesses using the infrared gun, the thermometer guns, and there's like an amazing amount of testing going on there. I know, like last week, they had 150,000 tests done when we'd only done 1,500, which is pretty crazy. But their statistics, their mortality rate is like 0.3% or something, or 0.2%. It's down there with flu because they are catching people so early and making sure people are sequestered and making sure people have the right treatment that they have managed to keep like the infection level like super low. And this is something that everyone will be taking note of coming out of this when they look at South Korea as being like the model for how you do this. Um, and actually, another cool component of this, people are always concerned about flu during flu
Yep.
season. Flu kills a lot of elderly people every year, people with underlying health problems. Flu is going to be really interesting uh, coming out of this because I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a significant drop in the amount of flu cases based on the fact that we're all isolating ourselves. So I don't know. I I hate the fact that this is dominating everything right now. I feel like we're probably next week will probably be more of a guitar related podcast again because I think people will be backing away from coronavirus because it'll be the new norm. Like once we go through a week or two of this, I think things will settle in. Hopefully some gear news will start actually showing up. Maybe some new products will get announced, things like that. But right now there's really nothing to talk about. You can't find any
Yeah. Yeah.
guitar coverage. I mean, like even the guitar sites are kind of dead right now. Their people are all working from home and everything. I mean, it's not really a whole lot to discuss. We did talk about, I think on the last episode, we talked about the Gibson issue. Robert Jackson's got a good video out talking about the Gibson lawsuit between them and Kiesel.
And then Heritage sued Gibson.
I don't know that he addressed Kiesel talking about suing Harley Benton, but Heritage is suing Gibson. I don't know what over, but apparently they have some sort of contract dispute or something with Gibson. I want to look into that. That was something I was on my to-do list today. I just didn't get around to it because I think that's probably a really interesting discussion. You have a company that's based on old designs from the other company that's suing them for some sort of patent infringement, which I have no idea what, or copyright infringement. I have no idea what this. Maybe I don't know, man. Like I can't even imagine.
They do Gibson
Heritage doesn't
knockoffs
really
for the
do
most part.
original stuff. It does sort of like
Yeah.
takes on Gibson, but I
It might
don't
be,
think they're
but
necessarily straight
they
knockoffs.
bought the
though, because
Gibson
their approach to it's a little
factory.
bit different.
That's how they got their
But
start.
they didn't buy the Gibson factory. They were the employees that worked in the Gibson factory when they shut it
Right,
down.
exactly.
The same people bought it. It's Gibson, but not Gibson. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like now it's not because they are obviously they've been purchased by another brand, and then they were coming in and starting to modernize it. I'm really looking forward. I want to play some of the new Heritage stuff. I just haven't gotten a chance to yet. But honestly, like I think Heritage was a cool brand before. I don't know what justification they have
Exactly.
for a lawsuit suing a company where they basically stole all their designs from. And I don't really see them so much as being like complete thievery because it was originally the same guys doing it. But now that it's, like obviously many of those guys have either retired or have quit or been fired. It now looks like, kind of like a, hey, we're suing you because we own the intellectual property kind of thing, or because there's some sort of dispute. I'm sure Gibson sent them a few cease and desists over the years. But part of that is because if you've ever played one of the Heritage 335s, yeah, I know people don't like the headstock, but they play better than the real ones, than the Gibson 335s that are coming out now. And I could say that about a lot of their semi-hollow guitars, that they're better than their Gibson equivalents. I don't know if I'd go that far with the Les Pauls they put out and stuff, but at least the 335 and the hollow body stuff was semi-hollow and hollow body stuff was always really good compared to the Gibson stuff. And it's just because those guys, that's what that factory did. Like, that's what those guys did. They make guitars in basically the same way Gibson used to. Now, I know for a fact, like, you can get some old Gibson, like
Junior.
Who's Nick Bongers has that. What has he got? What's the name of
Oh, the Trini Lopez.
He's got the one David Grohl likes. I forget what the name of.
Okay, yeah.
He's got a Trini Lopez. He's been playing in the group. It's a freaking great guitar. And the Trini Lopez is like one of the unsung Gibson heroes that a lot of people really like, but don't want to talk about it because they don't want people to run out and buy them all. Trini Lopez prices are slowly going up. What I was trying to say was, like, they have made some guitars like the Trini Lopez and the old 335s and stuff that would just trounce all over modern heritage, but they're 50 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you're talking about keeping a guitar running, like, and you could put some serious cash
there's an
into
interesting, speaking of Gibson,
a guitar that has hide glue and
weird
stuff in
ones
it.
that only a few people know about and have owned. Yeah. There was one
like the Marauder,
that was a signature guitar for a one-hit wonder. Aldo Nova got a signature guitar, and his signature guitar, there's only a couple people that have it, and if you look at it, it's kind of a Les Paul meets a Trini Lopez. Yeah.
How about the Sonics?
Yep.
That was a weird guitar, like a bolt-on Les Paul. There's the modern, of course. The ES357. Mm-hmm. It's a 335 with no F holes and 3 P90s.
I wonder if you could even find
the Challenger 3
for sale.
Oh,
I'm talking about the Aldo Nova. Not
this is it right here.
Challenger, right?
This is the one. We need. I'm sending you. I'm Facebooking you this so you can talk. We can talk about this on the show. This made my day.
Hold on, I gotta get on Facebook.
You're seeing this right now. What does that remind you of? It has the ugliest headstock on earth. If it had a proper headstock, I don't think we would be talking about another guitar.
Take your date to Starbucks if you can't remember their name. All right, let's see. That's a good one. All right, let's see.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's the joke.
If you can't remember their name, you probably.
Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, this one came out.
Here,
it was
let
like,
me swap.
Okay, Gibson, come on. Yeah.
That's a Gibson MV2 1981 is red. The one I'm looking at here. It is a PRS knockoff. Like dyed in the wool, obvious PRS knockoff. But
what year is it?
Oh, I think
81. No, they weren't ripping off PRS in 81. They didn't care about PRS. Was not an entity. So it wasn't even Paul Reed Smith yet in 1981. There were some of them out there, but it wasn't a company yet.
Right. But I almost wonder if
that's
Paul Reed Smith took some design notes from this, because if you look at the pick guard, like, it very much looks like a pick guard.
Very.
And if you look at the headstock is obviously.
Oh yeah, if they'd have, I think that they were doing our headstock is different from a Strat, even though from most angles.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, from most angles, it doesn't
thing
look
is
like
just
Strat,
stupid.
From straight on.
It's ugly.
Yes. Oh, good Lord.
Do you remember the Firebrand 335-S?
Yes, 369.
Those are
ugly.
How about the ES369?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. The
headstock. This guy wants $2,000 for this thing. Good Lord!
It's almost worse.
Now, what year is that? That's 81. Again, you can't say that PRS was even an entity to them. But look at that headstock. That's kind of PRS-ish.
Oh, this is more. Yeah, it's very PRS-ish.
Yeah.
it's almost like he was paying attention to what was going on in the
I'm
Gibson
wondering if
realm
that's
right
a
then,
Hammer
and
thing.
was
Like, it
like
was all
kind of
right. Let's do
making
what Hammer's
adjustments to
doing.
what he was already doing.
Hammer? Is it Hammer?
Yeah, that's a it's Hamer.
Because
But
Hamer was really, if
it's a
you
curious
look
thing because Hamer
in
was
the
kind of like
mid to
doing
late
some similar stuff too.
70s
But you know
into
what?
the 80s, Hamer was really, that was the Gibson killer at that time. If you wanted that kind of guitar.
Yeah. So,
Yes. Yeah.
but the thing is, Hamer was always like double cutaway Les Pauls and stuff like that.
No.
They didn't really do like a real traditional looking Les Paul. And
Yeah.
actually, finding a vintage Hamer is pretty hard now because there weren't very many of them made. They were actually made out of a store. I forget the whole deal, but there was a store that was making Hamer, and they were selling them directly to like high end clients. And I'm sure they're still out there, but you're not going to find vintage Hamers very regularly. Most what you're going to find is like the import knockoff thing after they sold them.
Yep.
So here's a 1980 Hamer, and it's a double
And
cutaway
what's
Les
his
Paul
name
with a
was playing
Kaler
Hamers?
and blade
Nielsen.
pickups.
He was playing a lot of Les Pauls, but he was playing a lot of Hamers.
Yeah, and that was because he had a whole like buy USA like local made thing going on, and Hamer was a custom shop that would make you pretty much whatever you wanted. Um, so and actually, the guy that I liked that really loved Hamer guitars was using them up until like the 2000s was which they
Yeah.
weren't being made like long before that was Vernon Reid. He was a big Hamer guy. He played the Chaparral was most of his were like chaparrals and things like that.
Well, I think the reason that Rick played a lot of Hamer was Rick was playing Hamers due to the fact that they were making him a lot of guitars, and if I remember correctly, they're the ones that made the five neck
Yeah,
famous five neck
right.
guitar.
So he was getting incredibly custom stuff. I
Right.
mean, that's
Which he still has. He has that one. Plus, they made one like it had his image in it, like in the body. It had his head popping out the back end, and then
yeah,
it was checkerboard and
yeah. I mean, there's a market for that for sure. I
yeah,
mean, there
of
even
course
today
there
people
is.
are buying incredible one-off like custom pieces like that from companies like Jackson.
When I was a kid, let me ask you this. So when I was a kid, I was not aware of and I think it's probably because there weren't as many of them, but signature guitars. I really wasn't aware of them.
There weren't any. That didn't happen. Signature guitars didn't blow up until, and even though like the Les Paul is arguably a signature guitar, and there are other guitars that happened in between that and Fender taking over that whole thing. When Fender started putting out things like the Yngwie Malmsteen and the Eric Clapton Strat and the SRV Strat, that's when that took off. So, and that was because those players had like they had very specific tones and they had a very demanding like set of gear that you couldn't get anywhere else. I mean, you didn't have mid boosts on Strats. That was not a thing. You know what I mean? Like that was just not a thing. And so, or I think Yngwie is probably the qualifying one here. I mean, not very many people had scalloped fretboards. Um,
Right.
and if you wanted a scalloped fretboard to sound like Yngwie, like you had to go buy the Yngwie Strat, and so that made that a very popular choice.
Is that a I
Now
know
everybody has a signature guitar, right?
I know that
Jim.
Bonnie Raitt had a signature Strat.
Not until later.
Not until later. Okay, so one of the earliest guitars that I knew of that was a signature, believe it or not, was Garth Brooks with Takamine.
Yeah, but I don't think that. So even that probably would have been. Yeah, no, absolutely would have been post like 1986.
Oh yeah, it had to be in the close to the 90s. It had to be in the late 80s to early 90s would have been Garth Brooks' signature. Let's see, Garth Brooks Takamine. Yeah, double Dreadnought Cutaway acoustic electric. Yeah, that was his.
What year was that?
And this is a what year? Used. This would have been in the 90s, I think. Um, maybe, yeah, it had to be the 90s.
So I mean, the early ones were like Les Paul, obviously Chet Atkins, which that's not a surprise, and then Barney Kessel of K. So that's another one. That's a
Uh-huh.
name that I would not have expected to see that way.
See, yeah,
And then James Burton had a Telecaster. Well, they talked to James Burton to do a Telecaster.
yeah, but I don't think he actually had a signature Telecaster.
No, not until 1990.
Yep, he.
And the first two that came out were in '88, and that was Eric Clapton and Yngwie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the SRV came out in '89. It was '89 or '91, and I know they started talking to him at the same time as Eric Clapton and Yngwie, but because he was on tour and there were other things, of course he passed, around that time. Like it made it a lot more difficult. In fact, Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar was actually finalized by his brother, because
Right.
he got a couple of them, I think, to take on tour or something, and he was playing one of them, and then he passed, and then it never went anywhere. And I guess the deal was kind of like on the table. And Jimmy Vaughn went back to him and yelled at him and argued with him, said, "This should be a people's guitar. Like everybody should be able to buy this." And that actually ended up becoming his guitar. And then they sold the SRV Strat for, I think it started retailing for like $1,200 or $1,300, which was
at
pretty
that
expensive
time.
for the time.
Yeah, at that time it was expensive. I remember when the SRV Strat hit the market. There were two layers. There was the custom shop layer, and there was
that custom shop layer didn't happen until way later.
Yeah, and they had the other one, which just had Tex-Mex pickups and.
Yeah, no, that's the production model that they put out in '89.
'89, okay.
The custom shop version didn't. So the first run of it was actually made in the custom shop, which is why you see it listed as custom shop, but it was not a custom shop guitar. It was considered a production guitar. It was just finished in the custom shop, and a lot of guitars are like that. Even the Eric Johnson signatures, the first run of whenever they change it, comes out of the custom shop. So that's why you'll see people like advertise them on Reverb as custom shop SRV Strat. It's not really a custom shop. The only custom shop SRV guitars they did were Lenny and the number one, but those were like done in the like 2000, 2001, 2003 ish. So that was quite a bit later. And that was as a result of a partnership with him with Jimmy Vaughn and the Fender family. So Fender, company.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so no, it's interesting because you're talking about signature guitars, and like that's where that all really started, was with Fender when they made those lucrative Eric Clapton and Yngwie Malmsteen guitars. I have heard, and this is something I think we talked about on the show before, but Yngwie Malmsteen guitar, the Stratocaster that they put out, actually sells just as much as the Eric Clapton, probably more now. And it's a really weird thing because I don't see them stick around in stores here for more than 24 hours. So I don't know what the numbers on those guitars are, but I've heard that they sell a lot of those guitars.
Wow.
That's why it's never been out of production. I mean, you look at a lot of the other artist signatures that have come and gone. That guitar's not going anywhere. So.
There are certain obviously the Steve Vai gem has never gone anywhere.
Sure.
Les Paul went somewhere for about 8 years. 9 years?
Yeah, and that was based on his divorce.
Yeah, part of it was based on his divorce. By the way, the Garth Brooks one was the mid-90s. He actually called them and said, "Hey, let's do a signature." But he was already using it by that point. He had been using it, but Steve Wariner had turned him on to it, which makes sense.
Well, it definitely, I think seeing Fender be successful with the electric guitar side of it definitely opened up companies to the idea of like musicians.
But that's still, let me tell you something. I am surprised because I knew that the Takamine Garth Brooks existed. It's still in their line. I didn't even know anybody was selling Takaminis anymore. Much less.
Takamini's still out there.
It's kind of got a cool cutaway vibe to it. But anyway, the point is that there are growing up, I didn't have to worry about this is that signature guitar, that's so and so signature. It just was, guess what? these people play this guitar. So 9 times out of 10, like I remember seeing guitars in videos and thinking, oh, it's a Les Paul. It wasn't until later I found out, oh, that wasn't a Les Paul. That was a knockoff. Or that wasn't a Strat. That was a knockoff. So they were actually doing.
Even back then, some of those guys didn't know really what they were playing.
Yeah. And so a lot of times, I didn't know. So I can imagine most people didn't know. So it was easy for somebody like Gibson to just go, you know what? They're kind of doing us favors by getting guitars out there and selling them. And it wasn't until the Ibanez, that whole Ibanez thing, right? I think it was Ibanez who did all the quote unquote lawsuit guitars of the late 70s, early 80s.
Well, Ibanez, Tokai, there was like a bunch of Japanese
Tokai did. Hohner did some.
Global.
Well,
Hohner wasn't Japanese though, so they're not really one of the lawsuit.
Oh, that's true. Hohner was European, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because there were other companies at that time like Teisco that were producing guitars in foreign countries that weren't doing complete knockoffs. I don't think Teisco was considered to be one of the lawsuit companies.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I had a Teisco.
Univox is another lawsuit company.
Yep. But it's just funny because I think about now, where we talked about this before. We're in a new generation of guitars. We're in a new way of looking at them. We got a Steinberger in the store the other day, and I was like, I might buy that. I was like, oh.
Which one? Was it a broomstick?
Yeah, 5-string bass.
Bass. And it was an original Steinberger, not like one of the Spirits?
Yeah, original.
Yeah, because if it's a Spirit,
no, I wouldn't buy it. And we've gotten some really good guitars. And again, these are some of the guitars. I think we talked about this too. They don't really hold as much value as you'd want them to. Take a Petrucci, which whether we as two people like the Petrucci Majesty, whether we like it or not, that's a killer guitar. And but it's priced just incredibly high. And so
you know what? I actually don't think it's priced that high for what it is. I mean, look at how that guitar is constructed. Like, it's not priced high. It's just insane because he wanted this guitar that's like, honestly, Ernie Ball should have looked at him and been like, "You're out of your mind," and been like, "We can't sell this." But instead, Ernie Ball says, "It's got your name on it. We can sell a lot of these." Like, they're like, "We'll do whatever you want, John."
Well, we got guys like Robert Jackson. Don't worry.
I actually
he's got one.
So the Majesty, I like it. Do you know what? It's not going to be a surprise to anyone when I tell people why I won't buy one. I would buy the 7-string version of that guitar, like in a heartbeat. But it has that stupid inlay with his initials on it. I don't want to buy a guitar that says that I'm trying to be like you. Period.
And see, that's exactly what I was getting to. When I was growing up, if you bought a Warwick, a Warlock or an Eagle or other BC Rich, you were getting a true. It was heavy as get out. Those things were heavy, but you were getting your guitar. You weren't getting a Johnny Winter guitar. You're getting your guitar. You weren't getting and I think that's the thing that's happened is, I'm willing to bet there's a Petrucci model that's not a Petrucci model. You'd be able to get it. At some point, they got to do that.
Well, I mean, you could buy the JPM now, which has less branding on it. I just don't like the fact that the Majesty, like even the Stealth Black one, has it has the Dream Theater logo on the first fret, and then it has the stupid shield inlays, and then it has the John Petrucci signature on the headstock. Like, first off, I don't care about the signature so much. It's the stupid inlays. Like, come on, guys. Make one for people like me that just don't want my guitar to be like super audacious and say, hey, I wanna hang out with John Petrucci in the back of my car, like, and smoke a bunch of weed with him or whatever.
I don't know. Does that happen?
I
Does he
don't.
do
Does he
that?
do
I
that?
don't
I
know.
don't know.
I honestly
I
don't.
don't
I don't
smoke.
smoke weed, so I don't know. I've never
Yeah,
done
I
it.
mean, I'm just thinking if like I wanted to hang out with Willie Nelson, like that would be a thing,
He
right?
does have a signature guitar. It's a Martin with a hole in it. Anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's for a tale for another day. But the point is that I like the Petrucci model, but I don't like it $3,000. And I can find a lot of Music Mans I would buy before I buy. But for the most part, except in their bass line,
That's all they make.
they,
I mean, I know that's not all they
yeah,
make, but
see,
it's
that's
like
just it. Do they make anything else?
no, they make so they make the Cutlass, and then they make what's the offset version of the Cutlass, the Stingray or whatever,
Yep,
and that's it.
yep.
They don't really make any other like guitars. And what ticks me off is they're gonna make the Cutlass, which is basically a Strat knockoff,
Yeah.
right? And I love them. Like I've played, I think I've talked about on the show. I went and played one. I'm probably gonna end up buying one at some point. But I'm like looking at them, and they're beautiful fretboards, like nice pickups, decent hardware. I don't like the fact that it's a non-floatable trim, but I can live with that. But my biggest problem is they don't offer any sort of extended range models,
Right.
and they don't do it in a humbucker configuration. It's humbucker single or three
Yeah,
singles.
which is weird. Um,
It's insane to me. You have to get a signature model. So they have the Jason Richardson signature Cutlass, which is a 7-string, and it's also humbucker.
so,
That's
and when it comes to basses, I don't think the bongo is the bongo even in line anymore?
I believe it is.
I mean, that's the other part of things is I was looking at, Music Man.
Well, I mean, if Music Man was going to operate a custom shop where it could, yeah, they just still do the bongo,
Okay.
where you could call up and you could get what you want. Like that would be another thing. By the way, the bongo is like the ugliest bass on earth.
I know, right?
They really probably should cancel that thing.
And it's also here you go. This is where we differ. I love the bongo. I love the look of it, and I wish
you can wipe your bottom.
I wish I could love playing the bongo.
I didn't know that their basses were this inexpensive though. As I'm looking through here, Stingrays for like $2,300.
Yeah,
I thought they were a lot more than that.
The Stingray is relatively inexpensive. The thing is, okay, you look at the wall. If you look at the two of them on the wall, you look at a Fender Precision Elite, whatever.
Well, actually, I wouldn't look at a Precision Elite against a Music Man. You know what I would look at? G&L.
A Music Man Stingray. And you put them up side by side. The Stingray has so much more to offer. The bongo has.
They're not. Yeah, they're not even the same thing. Like I look at it this way: when Leo Fender designed the Stingray, like he fixed all the problems with the traditional bass designs that he'd already put out.
Definitely.
He knew that there were certain things that needed to be adjusted and changed, and that's what he did. And he invented the bass guitar. Like for anybody who
the electric
genius of Leo Fender, he invented the electric bass. No, he invented the bass guitar. Period. There was no electric bass. There was no.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And it's not a guitar.
You're right. You're right. I take that back. Although it was electric, the Precision was the first. What do they call it when you sell it through a store? First
electric bass guitar. Period. There was nobody else doing it before him. No one. That he came up with the idea of having a low end instrument because stand up bass players were coming to him and screaming, "We need something portable."
Your cat.
You can look
it
up.
Your cat just left.
It's fine.
Your cat just left static on your microphone.
Oh, really? I don't care.
Anyway,
if that's the worst thing my cat does on this show.
Yeah. It was just funny to hear your voice. But yeah, don't get me wrong though. I think the Stingray is the ultimate, the penultimate guitar as far as that goes. Bass.
Yeah, I mean, I know somebody's got a Stingray, and I really love the sound of it. But I just I think both the Stingray and the G&L equivalent, which is an ASAT bass. It's not ASAT. What is it? It's the it's going to drive me nuts. I forget what they call them. they make a bass guitar that he designed with a humbucking pickup as well, and it sounds really, really good. And that would be what I would probably opt for. L1000, that's what it is. The L1000 is a good version of the Stingray as well, and it's very clear. Like he made the Stingray, and then when he left his deal on the table with Music Man, he went and he made the L1000. It's basically the same thing, with a little bit more, further design accoutrements that he like added to it. But yeah, I mean, as far as the signature thing is concerned, I just don't understand the allure of the signature guitar. I would rather see companies do more of a custom shop or like a build your own option than to see signature guitars. And I think there's probably more money available in that. But they don't want to do one offs, and that's fine. Like I get it. Companies don't want to do one offs.
Mhm.
Yeah, Fender toyed with that. They had that mod shop or whatever,
Yep.
which I think is a great, like, it's a step in the right direction. I just the real reason that they want these endorsement deals is because the advertising is what sells the guitar, not the guitar
Right.
itself. Um, which is funny because I played a bunch of signature guitars at one point, and the one I liked the most was the artist I hate the most, which was I liked the Fender John Mayer Strat a lot, and I hate the guy. Like that's what's funny about it. It's like I wouldn't buy that because I don't want people thinking I like him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, I mean I'm obviously being facetious and being silly for like show's sake, but like it's true when you want to identify with who you're buying your signature model of, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to buy, like, I don't want to buy the Jim Root Stratocaster and then go play blues with it. That's just not my thing, and people would have too many questions. I get enough questions with my Kiesel, so
John Five plays his guitar and he plays country on it. So
yeah, well, he plays. That guy's a monster. He can play whatever he wants,
he can play
whatever guitar he wants. Frankly, quite frankly. Um.
everything.
Anyway, I've been David,
I'm a Jim.
and tonight we've been Practical Guitars.
Yay.
Boo.